Hello, everyone. I am Belinda Cheeseborough, STEM Education Specialist at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I'm here to share the stories of African Americans and the impacts they've had and continue to have on American culture because of their STEM contributions. Through the Window and Into the Mirror is a video conversation series about the experiences of African American STEM professionals today. During this session, students will peer into the windows of their speakers' lives and learn from their lived experiences. They will also find parts of their culture and lifestyle mirrored in their stories. To everyone listening, it is our hope that you leave here with information, inspiration, and plans for action as you take your first steps towards having careers in STEM. Now, let's meet our speaker. Dr. Ronald S. Gamble Jr. is an award winning Afro-Latino theoretical astrophysicist, STEM educator, and visual artist. His research uses general relativity to study the material ejected from the centers of galaxies that are millions of light years away and their connection to supermassive black holes. He currently works as a visiting assistant research scientist for the Center of Research and Exploration in Space Science and Technology, 2, otherwise known as CREST II, a joint research program between NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center and the University of Maryland, College Park. Dr. Gamble is also an established oil/acrylic painter, graphic designer, and illustrator with 15 years of experience. Welcome, Dr. Gamble.
All right. Hi.
Hi. I'm so excited to speak with you today while engaging the teachers, students, and family of students watching this interview. Now, please tell us about your work, what you do, and anything else you think is important for us to know.
Yeah. So I I'm at a very unique kind of nexus point in research in terms of astrophysics research. I look at supermassive black holes. So these are the black holes at the centers of galaxies that are a billion times the mass of our sun. But I also look at the relativistic jets. These are very large structures that get blasted off kind of the very edge, right above the event horizon of these black holes. And I look at the mathematical and the physical theories that describe all of that energetic phenomena. So you were talking about things that are brighter than the sun. These are brighter than supernovae. These things are very, very, and they are extremely bright in the sky. You've probably seen some of them when you look up in the night sky. You've probably seen things called blazars and quasars. Those are the things that I study and I look at. And behind me, some of my work, I am a true theorist at heart. So I have a stack of notebooks and papers off screen right next to me. But that's my bread and butter. And just like Dr. Cheeseborough said, I use general relativity in my work. So even within the realm of extragalactic astrophysics and studying active galactic nuclei, which is the buzzword for this, and studying AGN, it's this even more unique way of looking at these objects. So not a lot of people use general relativity to actually look at some of the observational features and try to decipher some of the physics and maybe new physics that we can kind of either guess and check and decipher or come up with new theories as the math goes, right? So we use more math as we get more complex theories, but it's a lot of fun for me. It's like using Legos to create, new things, and then you break it apart and you figure out something else to make, and it's a lot of fun, lots of fun.
Yes, looking at the equations in your background is bringing back some fond memories of grad school for me. But let's go down back to your childhood. Did you have any interest in STEM while growing up? And if you did, what positive STEM experiences did you have that later inspired you to pursue a career in science?
Yeah, so I can, and I think, well, if my mom's on the call, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, if I didn't go all the way back to 4 years old, when I asked my mom, does the sun have fire? And she told me, yeah, I don't know. um, she is a biologist, so she has her degree in biology and she does software engineering. So she's not an astronomer, but she tried. But what she did do is she put me in STEM programs like ever since then. So my earliest memory was going to like science camps in middle school, 6th grade. I was going to science camps ever since. On all throughout middle school, high school was in them. I got scholarships to go to school, but growing up, it was always, it's everybody's dream to like work at NASA or to work at, these big science places, these labs, these government sites and things like that, that we all see. We see them on the news, we see them in movies. But it's a dream to actually one day work at one of these places that you see. And then it becomes even more of a reality, the dream becomes a reality when you then get to go out and talk to other students and say, hey, yeah, I work at NASA. And they're like, whoa, really? Like, yeah, I work at NASA. It's like, we didn't know you were there. It's like, yeah, I didn't know I was going to be here either, but here we are. But it was, I always had a love for weird science subjects. I would read encyclopedias in my elementary library. The nonfiction section was my favorite. And we used to have these little narrow books with the mouse on it called What If. We had a stack of those. If I hadn't had those growing up, maybe I'd be doing something different. But I think it was the early thing of having science and curiosity and exploration all around, and using kind of art as a vehicle also. So we had both intertwined, art and the science everywhere. So it was almost impossible to get away from the science. So it was fantastic growing up and being in that environment. Thank you, Mom, for being hard on me, keeping me in those camps.
Thank you to all the great moms that enable their children and enable their curiosity. Thank you. You are the heroes here. Who are your this actually goes into my next question. Who are your biggest role models / influences while growing up? So we obviously know your mom is one of them.
My mom is like the number one. Yeah. So we've talked enough about Mom. If she's on there, we're gonna pivot to somebody else now.
Okay.
But I think so, of course, I mean, so more details about my mom. I can't give her enough credit. So like this is, this is a single parent household. I was a middle child. We were one of three. I was one of three. We moved from Ohio to North Carolina. It was hot, and I remember it. The summer of 94, 95. It's ingrained in my brain. But it's just, I not only saw some of, the possibilities, right? The outlook, but also the near-term resilience. So that was a huge influence on me. So that was probably tippy top. Seeing her kind of go through, navigate some things. And as a kid, you don't understand, right? But as you get older and adulting is a thing, you now have a better appreciation for what your parents did. And then you understand, oh, you had to work 2 jobs, or you had to do this, or you had to come home late. And as a child, you don't understand, well, how come Mom doesn't come home until like 8:30? Well, she's out here working so that you can have an easier time in school. So, and so that she can pay for the science camps on Saturdays or during the summers or something like that. So that was one of my best influences growing up. The other ones, and I have to give a very, very good shout out to the Science House at NC State. So the Science House at NC State, Dr. Pamela Gilchrist is one of them, and Dr. Joyce Hillard Clark. I was not going to figure her name. Both of them, I have known them since I've been in middle school, high school. So both of them were absolute stellar influences. I really would not be, I have a short list of people that have kind of made me the man in science I am today. They are at the top of that list. They are right there, right up under my mom. It's Dr. Clark, Dr. Gilchrist, and then my wonderful grad school advisors that kept pushing me. But growing up, it was all of that. And of course, my siblings aren't scientists themselves, but they are science enthusiasts also. So we would bounce around, we would watch the sci-fi films. I would sit next to, all of us. We'd watch Star Trek. I remember when Star Trek Insurrection came out. We'd be right there. And so all of that all combined in one household, it was great. It was fantastic.
It sounds like an amazing childhood, just full of like all of those positive STEM experiences and people
If
just enabling again your curiosity.
right, right. I have a bone to pick with my older sister though, but
We that's a different can of worms. We won't get into it
different
now.
conversation.
So, what are some other hobbies or interests that you have that weren't so much STEM related growing up?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know. And that is I have been playing the clarinet since I was 8 years old. So that's the clarinet and bass clarinet. I was in band since I was 8. And I did that all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school. Um, I decided not to pursue that in college, but I tried a little jazz band here and there in college, and I did some in high school. But yeah, I still have all three of my instruments in my closet collecting dust. I need to brush them off, but I still have my original clarinet from when I was 8 years old. And
Wow.
so that thing is a dinosaur right now.
I was gonna ask if you had it on you, you wanted to bust it out to like
I don't
show
have
off.
it. It's buried. I'd have to get it out from somewhere. But it is, I still have it, and I've had multiple, previous relations. Are you still gonna carry this on? You still have your clarinet from elementary school? Yeah, is it gonna be a problem? Yeah, I still have it. This is an antique now. This is approaching 30 years old.
It's special.
So it is very special. It's very special. I've named all of my instruments. Yes, don't call me weird, but it's very special. It's another token that I have from my childhood that says, okay, yes, you can be a scientist, but you can also be this. You can also be an artist. So all of us, both of my siblings, my mom, my father, my grandparents, they played instruments. They were in music, they sing. So we all have you are this and something else. So the arts were all throughout the family. Everybody in the family is artistic in some form or fashion. Um, so that and I paint, of course. So I'm an oil painter. I'm actually surprised I don't have anything right next to me. But they're all in my living room. But yeah, I love to paint. It's very therapeutic. Anytime I need to get away from this craziness behind me in 4 dimensions. Yes, we live in a 4 dimensional universe.
Yes.
But I paint. It's very therapeutic. It makes your brain think of extra things. It gets the creative juices going, especially as a theorist. I need that.
I'm not surprised about your interest in art, especially the music side, because I mentioned this in a previous interview when I was talking with another interviewee who also has a background in music as well and playing instruments, how strongly connected music is with science. And that a lot of scientists that you meet actually have some background in music. Like for me growing up, I was in choir for most of my life. Like I love singing. Singing is a therapeutic as just as much as you find painting therapeutic for you. Like music is
Mhm.
therapeutic for me in general. So like I get it. We're multifaceted people here.
We are very multifaceted. We have to be multifaceted, multi-talented. We are exceptional.
Hmm. So moving on to undergrad slash grad school, where did you go for undergrad? What did you major in? And what made you decide to pursue that major?
I went for any Aggies that's on the call. I went to the illustrious North Carolina A&T Agricultural and Technical State University. So it's in Greensboro, North Carolina. Go Aggies. We have a homecoming coming up that I can't go to because I have to work. Um, Tears. But it was the first place that I saw I had a Black teacher in science. So it was the very first place that I saw somebody up in front of me teaching me science who looked like me. And that was, at first, it was shocking because you don't understand, high school, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to an HBCU, but it doesn't stick.
Hmm.
When you apply, it doesn't really stick. It's when you finish that first semester, it sticks. And it's like, wow, this is what like Black excellence looks like. It's right here. We have whole universities doing this. Um, Was it an absolute dream going? Yeah. If I had to repeat it, I'd do it again. Was it hard? Absolutely. In our fields, as you know, you step out of campus and you go to these conferences and things, and you have to represent your institution. It's a problem. Sometimes it becomes a problem. The imposter syndrome is a big, big deal. But if you can overcome that, then now you have a badge of honor that says, yeah, I go to an HBCU, I study physics, I'm looking at black holes and gravitational waves and all this weird stuff that Einstein did. We're doing it at an HBCU, and we're brown, and we're doing this, and we have homecoming, and we have the band, and if you want to cross, you can do that too. But it's amazing. It's both science, culture, math, good food.
Mm-hmm.
And most of all, you really got that, what I would like to call that customized support. Everywhere you went on that campus, there was some support. Even if you were not an engineering major, but you had a class in there, there was somebody to support you. Physics, somebody to support you. Math. I remember going to all these different departments and asking, hey, do you have this? Can I talk to this person? The deans knew me. I'd be in their offices.
Wow.
So my department chair knew me very well at the time. So Dr. Amadouche, I owe you a bunch. So you get and it's mentoring. That mentorship is another word that ties in there too at an HBCU. But I majored in physics, to answer your question. I majored in physics, and for undergrad it was physics. I looked at I guess I wanted to do quantum gravity.
Oh.
And then
Mm.
and then I get there and I mention, hey, yeah, quantum. It's like, oh, have you taken quantum 1 and 2 yet? No. Okay, well, take quantum 1 and 2. It's like, all right, cool. What do I need to do that? Well, I have to take 16 other classes before I can get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, let me start back at 1, calculus 1, go. And then I got up and I was like, okay, quantum is weird. Do I really want to do this?
Yes, of course.
It's
Come on.
very weird. But I loved it. If you could put equations in front of me, the textbook, I read ahead. I was always looking ahead in classes. My notebook has a bunch of sketches in there. That's the only way I got my 98 in my quantum 2 exam.
Hey.
I would sketch on my exams. I write notes to my professors. Okay, yeah, I know I'm probably doing this wrong, but the answer's right, but correct this. And they would write back. It's like, yeah, but fix it this way. I'm like, okay, cool. Next time. And I would give them 6, 7 pages for like one problem. I wanted to do every single
Oh,
step.
you were one of those
I
students
was,
that
listen, it's behind me. I was one of those.
you were one of I knew people like you in my program.
But yeah, that's how I got into it. And I was always curious. I really wanted to know more. How does the universe work the way it does? That was the fundamental question. And
Mm-hmm.
why don't we know more about gravity? Those were the 2 questions I had in undergrad.
So while you were in undergrad, what are some opportunities that possibly help towards your career goals?
I got a passion for teaching very early. So my my advisor, he's still my current mentor after this was since 2007, 2008. So I'm not naming ages. I already feel old. But this was back to 2008. When he kind of showed me how he taught his classes. I had him, and then he showed me how he taught his class, and I was like, okay, interesting. Okay, can I teach? It's like, okay, yeah, cool. So I actually taught my very first test course as like a junior in undergrad.
What?
Yeah, I gave a lecture, and I made slides, and the slides were terrible. I still have a copy of them. They look terrible. But I made sure, and I thought as a student, how can I make these slides more engaging to capture these students? That was my very first thought, undergrad, junior year.
Wow.
So from then on, just the response that I got from these students, they were kind of early on freshmen, sophomores, and I was a junior. So of course, they initially trusted I was telling them the truth about some of these facts and things in my lecture. And I was like, wow, y'all actually trust me on this. Like, okay, well, let me make sure 2 + 2 actually equals 4 then. so so that was one of, I think that was one of the early opportunities I had. One of the first internships I had was at Brookhaven National Labs with Dr. Bebe Kabede, my current mentor, and it was fantastic. I've met friends there. This was 2009 that we're still friends 14 years later. We are still best friends. And so it's a combination of both of those that really sparked, my career now as it is today.
That is awesome. I don't know too many undergraduates that have the opportunity to actually do a lecture for a class.
Yeah, and I don't know why he trusted me so much either.
Right.
But here we are.
Like I could see like, like a lab, like you're a TA and you have to like introduce the lab and help people out. But like at a lecture, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And also that it inspired your graphic design work, right? Because that's what you were getting at, that you were like, how can I piece together things in a way visually that people can just like understand the
Hmm.
concepts? That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So it was real early, and I learned the lesson of minimal graphics
Hmm.
so that to not distract people, because I got more questions about the background than the actual content on the slide.
Uh, you went a little too hard for
Too
some
hard,
students.
too much. Yeah, but it's okay.
That's really cool. So, in all of that, what made you want to continue on to grad school?
So I knew I wanted to go to grad school in high school.
Okay.
I knew I wanted a PhD for 2 reasons. One, I had never met a Black astrophysicist. Um, so until I got to college, so I never met one until I got to college. And then number two, with that, well, I wanted to know, okay, well, what's the highest degree I can get?
Mm,
And I remember looking this up in high school. Um, and if my junior year guidance counselor is listening, then yeah, I did it because I said I was going to do it. She told me to pursue engineering, get a bachelor's, and go work. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But I looked up. We didn't really. I guess Google was a thing, but it was janky back then.
yeah,
Um,
not
but I looked
sophisticated
up.
as now.
Well, what's the highest degree you need? What's the highest degree you can get? And then what's the highest degree you need to be a researching professor somewhere? Right. So because I wanted to stay in academia. I knew academia was kind of the thing, right? And they did research and okay, yeah, you taught, but okay, maybe a few classes here and there, but research. I want to do this just all day. In high school, I was like, yeah, no more English classes. I could just do this all day. Turns out it's do a lot of English, you write a lot. But that was kind of the initial push to get me to go to grad school. And it was until I was in my senior year undergrad that I realized, okay, well, yeah, let's do this nonstop.
Mm.
So I went all the way through. Um, and so even some of my family members were like, okay, so when are you ever going to not be a professional student? I'm like, well, do you want to write my dissertation for me?
Right?
It'll help. um, but I knew early on I wanted to do that. And so the transition from undergrad to grad school, at first it wasn't too bad
Yeah.
until you actually have to then take hold of your own research and
Mm.
say, oh, if I don't get this done, then I don't graduate. It is not classes you have to get. The classes were fairly easy. You do your work, do the exams, cool, pass the classes. But it's the actual research going from 0 to 100 start to finish on your research in grad school was like, it clicked. I'm like, okay, so this is what you actually have to do in grad school. Let's slow it down. So that's what I learned in my master's program, to kind of slow things down. I could take as much time as I needed, funding provided, to
Yeah.
to do whatever it is that I wanted to complete it for my thesis in grad school. So that's what I wanted to do in grad school. And I had other questions. So all my questions weren't answered in undergrad. Some of my professors couldn't answer them. They weren't experts. Some of them weren't experts in general relativity and things like that. So I was like, okay, well, I want to know more. Well, I want to know why. Why did Einstein stop here?
Mm.
Why did Feynman say this about the electron? What caused Dirac to think about antiparticles and things like that? So it's those things like that. And how do we match that together? And all of these questions. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to go to grad school to slow it down and to learn more in much more detail. And so that's what kind of pushed me towards grad school, and pursuing my PhD.
So in grad school, the research that you did, is it similar to the research you're doing now, or is it a completely different topic?
It was a completely different topic. It was
Okay.
still black holes, so that was the connecting piece. Still black
Mhm.
holes, still general relativity, but different topic. I studied nonlinear gravitational wave theory from black hole binaries. Yes, I know you do gravitational wave theory. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So
like,
this, guys, this never happens. Black holes in gravitational waves. All right. But I did gravitational waves, but I looked at it from a field theory perspective. So not your kind of traditional observational perspective that we have now. Back when I was in grad school, LIGO had kind of just turned on. We were just getting results from LIGO. And so that was 2015, 2016 when we were getting LIGO results. I remember that because I was like,
mhm.
I'm not going to class today. We just found out gravitational waves. Cool. Somebody's getting a Nobel Prize. It's not me, but I'm not going
Yeah,
to class.
right. It was literally my first few months of grad school, and gravitational waves were discovered. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
like, this
before
is
we
great.
keep going, we gotta, for the people who don't know yet,
Okay.
what does LIGO stand for? And
LIGO is the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, LIGO.
what are gravitational waves?
Gravitational waves, you're very good because I would have skipped right over this. Gravitational waves, or you can think of gravitational waves as kind of ripples in space-time. When we have two massive objects kind of rotating around each other, they want to collide, they want to displace space-time, and they ripple. If you've thrown a rock in a pool of water and you've seen the ripple, gravitational waves look just like that, except now we're replacing the water with space-time. So now space-time is this kind of mysterious entity, right, that kind of handles or it locates events in space and time, X, Y, Z, and time, right? So those are our four dimensions. But gravitational waves oscillate all of these motions in space-time. These things are coming from millions and millions of light years away. And so LIGO is in the shape of an L, right? You've got one laser going this way and another laser going this way. The contraction, one will shrink this way and one will expand in the opposite direction. That tells us a gravitational wave is coming by. And these things are very, very sensitive. They can detect traffic from like 2 states away. They are very intense, very expensive, very sensitive, but they give us very sharp observations and detections of gravitational waves coming from some extragalactic sources.
Yeah, that was good. That was for people watching. That was my research in not undergrad, well, partially undergrad and also grad school. I worked in LIGO and did gravitational waves. For those who want to know, but we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about you. Um, so moving on to what were the best and most challenging parts of your grad school experience?
Wow. Okay. So okay, we're gonna start with the good things, Beth. Good things. Okay, bad things first. Bad things first. I guess the most challenging part of grad school was that the research that I was doing, no one else was doing in grad school.
Mm.
So if you're ever in grad school and you're doing something, working on a project, you're doing research, most of the time you'll have somebody doing the same thing. You'll be in a group, right? And your PI is doing it, and you're on a grant, and you're great. You get to publish and publish and publish. That's another story. but but one of the challenges that I faced in grad school was the work that I was doing, right? Especially in general relativity, was done for the first time at A&T. So this was at North Carolina A&T and HBCU. This was the very first PhD in a physics-related area. So mine was the very first in astrophysics. So it's never been done before. So each semester, I had to go back, and me and my advisor would reevaluate. All right, what went great, what went not so good, and then what needs to stop, right? What do we need to change? So after each semester, we had to reevaluate, are we progressing towards finishing this thesis? Yes or no? So it was a large challenge in the very beginning when I said what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study, who I wanted to do it with. And I was in a department, of course. Back then, A&T did not have a PhD in physics within the physics department. So my PhD, I had to create the program out of the computational science and engineering department, which offered me a fellowship to go to school for free. So I was like, great, yeah, but how do I do this? How do I do this? So with the help of my advisor, Dr. Ken Flurchick, he is like in the top of my list as most influential people, alongside, everybody else I've named. But he really helped kind of shape that program and kind of lobby to the College of Engineering where my department sat. It was interdisciplinary, but it was housed under the College of Engineering to convince them, hey, he's getting this fellowship. He's going to do this research. It's going to be cool because I'm going to be his advisor, and he's got other advisors from physics, math, and other places. We don't care what you think. He got in. We're going to do this. And so that's what happened. There was some pushback, but it resurfaced towards the end after I defended, and I had to submit my thesis that no one understood what was going on because it was done again for the first time. The best part about it, I would say, so one of the best things is that because it was done for the first time, you could shape it however you want. So there was really no one else aside from me and my advisor to say, hey, you're doing this research wrong. It's like, no, we were the experts in the entire school. So at the time, we were the only ones in the state studying this. So it's not just the school, but the entire state of North Carolina. We were the only two looking at nonlinear gravitational wave theory using field theory and GR, math and quantum and all these other things. We wrote code for this. So it was like, it was up here, But one of the absolute best things is when you actually finish. When you can get to the finish line and you can say, with your gown and things, hey, yeah, I finished. I graduated. I'm Dr. Gamble. And I think I shed a tear during my defense, probably because I was exhausted. It was almost 3 hours. But then also I was like, yeah, it's done. This is finished. But again, one of the challenges was only a few on my committee knew what I did. So after I defended, they say, yes, you passed, but you have to rewrite part of your dissertation.
Oof.
Yeah. So I was like, what do you mean? I'm panicking. What do you mean rewrite? And so my advisor's like, oh, no. You're still graduating eventually. I'm like, okay, we'll rewrite this. And then they asked me to shorten it. And as you know, coming out of physics, what do you mean shorten?
Yeah, what do you mean shorten?
Like, we're talking 2 pages? Do I need to shorten my bio? What's going on? It was 156 pages at my defense. They asked me to shorten it to 92, 98. Yeah. And I said, yeah, yikes. And so I wasn't, because of that, university policy, I wasn't able to walk in May. So I had to wait, and I had to take the whole summer to do some rewrites. I gave them an extra 40 pages. They gave me time, so I gave them extra pages. Super petty, I know, but
I was like, that's petty to the max right there.
like there's petty Betty. I was up here. I'm like, you better call me Dr. Pettygrass or something. Just I was like, well, and I talked to my advisor. I'm like, okay, well, I have more to say. If you're gonna give me more, if I have a whole summer, I have more to say. He's like, go for it. I'm like, yeah. So I wrote an extra 40 pages, and they come back and they say, well, you have more. It's like, yeah, you gave me more time. And they had a week to send it back to the grad school. And so I'm like, yeah. And it's written in LaTeX.
Mm.
So
What is LaTeX for the
LaTeX
non?
is what's called I'm throwing all these names out here. LaTeX is a markup language. It's basically code that you write similar to HTML for text, but it adjusts it, it'll write adjust, middle adjust, you can include graphics, it makes everything look sharp. It's typesetting. It's a typesetting language. So I did that. LaTeX looks like code, and it is 200 pages, give or take, in LaTeX. I know, and you know my pain. That was, and we had to write the class file because the grad school didn't write one for us. So that was
Oh,
a challenge as well.
yeah, you're the template now.
I am the template. But grad school, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again. So I could you can show you can do this at an HBCU, at a school, a Black school, HBCU in North Carolina. Even if the program doesn't exist, if you've got somebody supporting you, go for it. Period.
You're like one of the few, if not probably only person who would be willing to redo grad school. I think most people are like, nah, I'm just gonna get a job.
Right.
I can't
Right.
do this again.
Right.
So now that they finally granted you your degree, how did you end up working for the joint program between NASA Goddard and the University of Maryland College Park?
I after I graduated, I was unemployed for 4 months, 5 months or so. It felt like 6 months, but I think it was like 4 months.
Yeah.
And then I worked in my first postdoc was not in astrophysics. It was not in physics. It was in the biomedical engineering department at North
What?
Carolina A&T, where I was hired to create a set of 5 courses for them in biophysics and numerical calculus. I also created a course in engineering analysis of physiology. So I taught and created about 5 different courses in the biomedical engineering department at A&T. They're still taught there. So I helped redesign that whole curriculum for my postdoc. So I'm going from general relativity, black holes, and all this mess behind me to having to hash out or dig back in my brain the biology class that I had in 10th grade, because that was the last time I had biology. And I'm wondering,
Same.
why would y'all hire me? But
They were
me? Okay, let's do it. I need a job. But it was, oh my gosh, I am so glad I had that. It was an absolute awesome experience. That was when I fell in love with teaching. It really invigorated that. And so I would teach all these classes. They're still there. You can go look them up. Some of them are listed on my website. But I taught a anatomy and physiology course. And it was pretty physics heavy, and my students hated me for it. But at the end of the semester, they're like, okay, Dr. Gamble, you've really taught us a whole bunch. I'm like, yeah, you're probably using it in your job interview, aren't you? It's like, yeah, we did. I'm like, okay, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, but after that, of course, we have bouts of unemployed. I was unemployed when I left. I moved North Carolina. I moved up to the DC area, unemployed. Then COVID hit, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a position within the DoD. And they recruited me and things like that. I was working at the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, and this is the shortest job description that I will give you, and that's it, because it was a classified position, and I can't say anything else for another 10 years. Hush, hush. So then, but from there, I sent a long story less long, I sent a cold email out to NASA. They had put out a call. I was on somebody's email list, and I said, let's see what happens. Go. 2 weeks later, I got an email from the deputy director, Rita Sambruna, asking me, hey, do you want to hop on a call to talk about NASA? I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Is this spam? Yeah. What? Yes. I've been
Is
applying
it a
for y'all
phishing
like,
email?
listen, because at this point, I've already sent 4 postdoc applications and none of them came back. I'm like, now y'all want to, okay, let's see what happens. It was fantastic. All of the work that I had done leading up to that interview for free on the side got me my job. So that's how I got to NASA. The postdoc I had in the biomedical engineering department got me my job. The DoD position got me my job. The teaching I did in grad school got me my job. The advising, the mentorship, all of that. All of that leading up to 2021, it got me the position I have now at NASA. And so I'm forever grateful for my entire route, because it got me to my dream job, which is NASA astrophysicist. So
That's awesome. No experience left wasted.
it's, oh my gosh, yeah.
So now that you are part of NASA, and you are part of the Cosmic Origins program, correct? So what is the overall goal of this program?
It is, so it's one of 3 program offices under NASA Astrophysics. So this is coming out of NASA HQ, so it's agency wide. But within this office, Cosmic Origins both manages some of the NASA missions you might have heard of, James Webb Space Telescope, Roman Space Telescope that's coming up in 2028, 2027, and some others that are already out there, Swift, Hubble, Space Telescope. We all know of these. But these are the programs that kind of manage, right, some of the science. These are programmatic things behind the scenes to ensure that they've got the right resources. We're advocating for some of these missions, and we're making sure that the right people in the right place at the right time, and then also the right science is being done as well. So that's kind of a very brief overview of Cosmic Origins. They do other things also, but we'd be here for another hour. But very quickly, that is what Cosmic Origins is. They've got 2 chief scientists right now who are matrixed, who are working at Goddard. And then above that, we've got everybody else in the program office at HQ. So that's kind of the hierarchy in Cosmic Origins. I am brought on to kind of further engage the science. I'm both a researching scientist and also someone that will go out to conferences and recruit and engage and say, hey, join these. We have a bunch of science interest groups that are available. I just launched a student group this week also.
Ooh.
So we have our very first student science interest group called the Cosmic Explorers. You can sign up for it. If you go on my pages, it's everywhere. I set a goal to have about 200 students in the first year. In the first 3 days, we had 110 signups.
Oh, wow. What education level? Does it go down to high school, or is it
This
like
is freshman, undergrad, all the way up through grad school, and everybody who does not have an early career industry people. So if you are freshman, undergrad, all the way up until you get a postdoc, captures everybody. Postbacks, gap year people, they are coming from all over. It is international. International students can be involved as well. I made sure that it was possible for them also.
That is awesome. Do you ever think that this program could be expanded to include some high schoolers?
I've had about 3 high schools ask me that, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do. What can I do for the babies? But I can't right now. I don't want to bring them in, waste their time, and not give them anything.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that when it's time to bring them in, I can bring them in as junior members.
They get the support that they need.
Get the support that they need. I don't want to waste time. So but they can also, anybody can join the public events as we have them. So high school students, if you reached out, I've already contacted you, hang tight. We're
Yeah.
working on
A program for you is coming soon.
it.
So, as part of this program, what's it like working as a scientist for the program? And also, what does your typical work week look like?
So part of my week involves probably too many meetings on Zoom and MS Teams. But it's a lot of kind of face-to-face conversations with people, making sure that we've got proper engagement, making sure we're doing the right science, making sure we've got some good collaborators within Cosmic Origins. And then aside from that, the other probably third of my time is I am the diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility lead within my division at NASA Goddard. So I'm ensuring that, yes, we've got proper plans and protocols, and we're doing these initiatives in place so that we can further push diversity and equity and inclusion within the astrophysics science division at NASA Goddard. So that is one of our things that I do. And then the other third, and this is not on specific days, even though I try to have Tuesdays and Thursdays as my research days, but my calendar gets taken.
It's just
It's
out of your control.
hijacked. It's out of my control. But I also do my own research. So right now I am not, as we would say, kind of attached to a mission. So I've got freedom to kind of bounce around and develop my own program of research. I can apply for my own funding, both internal and external, to NASA, and really pursue and hire grad students, interns. I might be doing that next year if I can get this funding. So, yeah, but it is literally crafting my research as I would like, as it suits, of course, the NASA purview for astrophysics. It's a dream job to be able to do all three week in and week out. It's absolutely amazing.
Would you say you're living your best life right now?
I'm living my best life.
So moving on to the next question, what is the Science Haven and its purpose, and what was the motivation behind starting this organization?
Okay, so I have to give a shout out to Dr. Raven Baxter, who's the executive director of the Science Haven. If you don't know who she is, then shame on you. You should, because she's awesome. She's amazing. She's phenomenal. I'm going to stop talking now.
You should also check out our interview with her.
Oh, there you go.
Because we did interview her.
But the Science Haven is built so I am the director of programs at the Science Haven, but the Science Haven was created so that we can kind of democratize science. And what that means is that we're not trying to put science behind a paywall, as you might see. We're not putting this behind like an application wall or anything. We're trying to make science accessible to everybody who wants to pursue it, regardless color, creed, gender identities, sex identities, where you come from, whether you're international, whether you speak English or not. We speak Spanish. So it's everybody who has a desire to pursue science. One of our initiatives that just launched this week, or launched previously, but we've got a new partnership with Curiosity Stream that launched this week, I should say, correction, yay, is our Stellar Dreams initiative. So that is ensuring that we're raising money to get 100 telescopes to 100 kind of low-income deserving, not underserving, but I would say deserving Black families to have their young people pursue science. A lot of the times people look up at the stars. Astronomy is kind of a gateway to a lot of STEM areas. You may not want to be an astrophysicist. You can be though. You may want to study planets. You may want to study planes, spaceships, and things like that. But everybody looks up at the sky at night. So we want to give these students an opportunity for them to also look up at the sky, dream big, dream hard, and pursue it. But at the same time, give you access to some of these tools so that you can look up at the sky more sharply. So you can get a sharper vision of your dream that you want to pursue. The telescopes is kind of an abstract idea for that. So that is the metaphor there, giving them the telescopes to give them access to pursuing their dream, right? And the telescope, everybody likes looking through a telescope.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, then maybe you're not cool. But
Yeah.
everybody likes looking through telescopes. And when you look through a telescope the first time and you see like Jupiter, you see Saturn's rings, you see up close on the moon, you see other things, right? It's amazing. It's amazing to see you're on Earth, and as small as you are, you can see these distant objects. It really allows you to think bigger than what your current surroundings are. And so that's what our Stellar Dreams Initiative is meant to do. And we've kicked off a partnership this week with Curiosity Stream. Go to Curiosity Stream, check out their stuff. We're running a program right now, a discount where if you sign up for Curiosity Stream using the code DREAMS, then you get like 20% off or something like that. And they've got a library of other things also. So there's a bunch of things in there, but it's an amazing, I'm so happy for it. We worked a lot on this. As you can see, I'm just talking my head off, but we worked a lot on it, and I'm really happy that this is, kicking off and making sure it's the way it is.
Well, congratulations on that partnership.
Thank you.
I'm really happy they're able to do that. Curiosity Stream is a really awesome platform. It's really cool. I've dabbled in it a little bit from time to time because I love documentaries. So like it's just really cool. Yeah. So moving on to an audience question. An adult from Maryland asks, what helped you to keep going with concepts you couldn't grasp? And what advice do you have for those newly entering STEM fields?
Okay, so concepts you couldn't grasp, and we'll answer this kind of fairly quickly.
Yeah. You still have two more questions, so.
Okay, cool. Okay,
you can do
fast. I would say for concepts you can't grasp, I would think about it differently. If you can't grasp it one way, you're going to get it another way. Think of it, you have to really not train yourself to think about the concept, but train your brain, train yourself to think or learn differently. If you do that, that's what I did. That's how I'm doing what I'm doing now. I had to learn how to learn differently. And so that doesn't mean get better at math or code more languages or things. No, I think I know about 12 coding languages, but it still doesn't make you a better scientist. What makes you a better scientist is your ability to learn new things, new ways. And that can come from anywhere. You go out in nature, nature's right outside. It's right there. Go out and experience some nature. You go look, study things, study other subjects, and you come back to that concept, and you can now have a different grasp on it. So advice in people who are newly entering STEM fields, I would say, do not listen to the hype about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome's a lie. It is something that you don't need to worry yourself out about. Do not worry your pretty little head about imposter syndrome. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can pursue it regardless of what anybody says. And so one thing that I like to say to kind of early career people pursuing STEM degrees is that my mantra is you have to fight for your dreams, even if you have to fight yourself. A lot of the times you are your own worst enemy. That voice in your head that says, oh, because I didn't get calculus 1 this semester, I can't be a physicist. You can. I took calculus 1 3 times. A lot of people won't believe that, but I did. But here we are. Here we are. Here we are. So there's nothing that can stand in your way. If you have a dream, go for it. Don't let anybody stop you. But you have to keep that tenacity going. Do not let that fire go out.
Exactly. And actually that kind of answers part of the last question, but the second to last question, what does Black/African American representation in STEM mean to you? I know.
Should have had more time. You should have asked me this first. This would have been a whole hour or something. So I would answer very quickly, what does Black representation in STEM mean to me? It means that, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Our ancestors did not have an opportunity to even dream up what we're doing today in 2023. It is amazing how far we've come as a culture. Like this is when we say for the culture, like this is for the culture. We are doing things. It might be for the first time, but it ain't gonna be the last time. That's the only thing we got to do. If you do something for the first time, that's cool. Make sure you bring somebody up with you so it's not the last time. So that's what I'm doing in my job, ensuring I'm not the only person that looks like me doing what I'm doing at NASA. Somebody else has this dream. Somebody else wants to pursue it, but they don't have anybody to tell them, hey, come with me. So this is a together movement. That's how I view representation in STEM. We have to really be our own champions. And if we're not, then no one's going to do it for us. We got to do it for ourselves. Got to take the initiative, take that tenacity, the motivation, the perseverance, the resilience to actually do it. Even when we're tired, you still got to keep doing it. Somebody else behind you is looking at you as an example. And if you fail, that might discourage them. So that's what pushes me in my job. If I fail, somebody else is going to be discouraged. Well, if Dr. Gamble can't study black holes, maybe I can't do it either. No, you can. Dr. Gamble just need to check the pluses and minus signs behind him. But that's how I view representation in STEM. And y'all know I wear representation on my sleeve. It is my armor.
And lastly, what advice do you have for particularly the middle schoolers and high schoolers that'll be watching this interview who want to follow a similar path as you?
You are never too young to reach out to us older scientists. The internet is available to anybody. Make sure if your parents don't know what you want to do, tell them. If you actually told them and they say, well, maybe you should do something else, tell them. No, this is what I want to do. Tell them. And your parents will support you. Or you can find someone else to support you. Somebody somewhere will support you in what you're doing. Go to your parents first, of course, and your teachers, everybody around you, right? So you have a family, you got a support system around you. They just need to know what your passions are. Talk about your passions, talk about your dreams. Somebody somewhere will give you resources and they'll say, hey, come shadow me for a week. Come shadow me for a day at NASA. And it will blow your mind.
Well, Dr. Gamble, thank you for your time, for sharing your story with us, and for giving such great advice and insight into the wonderful world of black holes and astronomy, quantum gravity, what have you. To everyone watching, thank you for spending your time with the National Museum of African American History and Cultures Through the Window and Into the Mirror, a career conversation series. Thank you all for your participation, and please remember, history is made by doing ordinary tasks extraordinarily well over long periods of time. Before you sign off, please take time to complete an evaluation form for this interview session. The link to the evaluation form is now being posted in the chat. There we go. If you have time, please take 2 minutes and fill it out. Thank you very, very much. Stay safe and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.